Welcome to Tinks Invest. Talk about investing, finance, and professional development for today's citizens only. The investment talk today will be Ethereum ETH. So it's my first posting ever today. Respect to the recording time of 9:45 a.m. on the Eastern time. Ethereum's currently trading $3,911, up about 0.07% so far. First, just want to say, happy Labor Day for all the ones that are in the U.S. and also hope every great weekend, by the way, and also happy Monday for the ones that are on the international side of the spectrum. So with respect to the Ethereum media affectation, I've been collecting some news this morning when I was on plane. Obviously, I just took a red eye from San Francisco. Not a long flight, right? Just like about 5.5 hours. But for me, it was a red eye, and I can never sleep on the plane. So I was just reading and at the same time like studying up. Also had Wi-Fi on board, so I was just reading up on some of the news around crypto and also with respect to Ethereum. I would say collectively it's not as active in terms of the news front. Obviously because it's midnight, but also at the same time it's because of the Labor Day weekend. Also with respect to the Jewish holiday, I think it's called the Rosh Hashanah, which is durating from the 7th of September all the way to the 9th, which is a Thursday. So technically, you could say that, for some of the people, that have the Jewish religious cadence, they would have technically, a really long weekend, right, durating from the 3rd all the way to the 9th. So technically, like 6 days of total holidays for them, if you count Labor Day as well. So we might hear, just maybe one or two news, but it wouldn't be, quantitatively as, dense in comparisons to the days we have seen before, which subsequently drove the green candles, right? The consecutive 12 media affectations on NFT adoptions or commercializations for, basically Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, right? I would say like more severely on Friday and Saturday based on my read so far. And just with respect to the news that I've been collecting, the last 12 hours so far, the number one came out from Decrypt about 19 minutes ago. There's and the depictions around like there's now over 1 billion locked up in Ethereum layer 2 scaling solutions. So talking about basically just like throwing big numbers out there to get more attention. But obviously with respect to the value proposition that Ethereum stands for, was that growth trajectory will progress going forward. So it's an interesting, informative article, but just another like big hype article, if you may, that Decrypt typically would love to do. Another article talked about, and I've been this is a relatively interesting one. It's on Quartz, and Quartz, the author lays out a list of relatively interesting catalyst that's boosting or has been boosting the price volatility for Ethereum recently. So the first one is talking about on Facebook, right? So Facebook could add a feature for NFTs to its wallet going forward, right? We heard something from David Marcus, which is a Facebook executive, and he told Bloomberg in late August that Facebook could provide support for non-fungible tokens on its digital wallet, known as Novi, Novi. So, with respect to this adoption, I believe that's something that they will be implementing going forward. It's not something they have publicly released or have shown any digital demonstration yet, but it's something that they are exploring at the moment, right? And I believe based on our media affectation that we've heard about a couple weeks ago, I believe Visa has bought an NFT that they is more of like an investment in the asset holding, but they are also looking into adding features for NFTs for their credit card usage and obviously for their financial offering that they will have going forward. So another news talking about with respect to El Salvador will make Bitcoin legal on September 7th, which is technically tomorrow. So that could be another positive catalyst that we're experiencing, driving the slight surge that we are. But with respect to, the Central American nation, right? It will be the first country in the world to make the original crypto assets a national currency alongside with the US dollar. So this is one of the first political initiatives that we are seeing on a global perspective. And some experts or economists have even mentioned that this will subsequently spur further Bitcoin adoption, which makes sense, right? Because of this legalization. Um, and so this could subsequently, be a type of a thing that could destabilize the economy and subsequently could also correlates with exposing the government and regular citizens to additional exchange rate risk. So that's something that is more of a gray area that they need to explore. But if you believe in Bitcoin or if you believe in cryptocurrency as a whole, this is a relatively big step for the Central American nation, El Salvador, obviously. Another news is really talk about Elon Musk with respect to some regurgitation news again. Ever since the B Word Summit, we know that he's currently holding Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Dogecoin, right? And this news is basically talk about his value proposition around Bitcoin, and despite Tesla temporarily stopped accepting Bitcoin as a form of payment because for the obvious reasons, right? The sustainable source of energy, or the byproducts, that could subsequently hinder the environments because of the high level of energy that needs to go through. Um, it's counterproductive to the environment, which is something that with Tesla being an electric company, that's the mantra try to solve that global warming issue. But he did point out in some of the recent posts on Twitter that he does believe in this in Bitcoin's value proposition going forward. He also has some hedge around Ethereum at the same time that he begins to also accept Bitcoin as a form of payment again for obviously for Tesla but for SpaceX as well. So interesting, right? And then other news. This is more of a anti-correlation news, kind of countering the positive consecutive news that we've had so far, right? If you count like with your 10 fingers, how many news we've had so far in the last 3 days so far? I don't think you can count with just 10 fingers. I think we have over 25 positive news so far. A lot of regurgitation, a lot of reinforcement news. But across the board, I would say, it's been mainly positive. I was like 90% positive. And this news on Quartz is talking about with respect to the U.S. SEC Commission with respect to obviously Gary Gensler. I believe he in a conference or in a meeting recently, he publicly said that crypto is a form of scam, a fraud. It's basically a portal for rich people to scam people, things like that. Just any criminal vocabulary to describe crypto as a whole. I mean, it is a relatively premature thing to say, knowing the fact that crypto is still relatively new technology, and for him to blatantly speak on something so self righteously. Um, I mean, he's a person of power, so it obviously will have some market influence, and he is enforcing and he's working with the Fed on releasing the bills, the crypto bills that we've seen, the infrastructure revision that we've seen. Don Byers has that 57 pages guideline, basically as like a form of instruction manual on how do you specify the structure or the infrastructure for crypto assets going forward, right? So basically putting a lot of like blockades and guardrails, if you may, around it. So with respect to the news, that's pretty much it. I think it was a great collection of positive news, but some foreshadow with respect to the Fed, which is a good thing and a bad thing at the same time. Like bad thing in terms of a short-term volatility, but good thing in terms of like structuralizing the compliance infrastructure that we need to prevent from like being hacked or losing your wallet, on the exchange platform that you have, right? Which we have seen on Binance and also on Coinbase at the same time. So with respect to the technical analysis, we are cooling off. Not really cooling off. I would say just kind of trade on a sideways fashion because like the media affectation is relatively flat, for obvious reasons, right? Because of the holiday, the publication companies have to take a break as well. So we have sustained a relatively long surge so far, ever since the 20th of July of this B-word summit, and we just have consecutive positive news ever since. And the news got more severe with respect to NFT adoptions, commercializations in a recent time frame. Now we just kind of trade on a sideways fashion, right? So with respect to MACD, RSI is extremely overbought. MACD is still forming that curvature. So is the level that we're at sustainable, or are we gonna see more of a surge coming? That really depends, right? Because like, we technically still have a holiday today, and then we should have the rest of the week. Um, but in terms of like specific catalysts, I think the next one is really just the CPI report that's coming out in the subsequent week. We always get like the CPI report around like the mid of the month by September. I think this time should be on the 16th or 17th, but I'll double check on the date. But that's like typically the correlating time around this. Always like later part of the third week of the month, if you may. Right, so we are still durating some curvature. So it seems like if talk about the apex of the ball, we should technically be in midway right now. Knowing the fact that we have surged up in a very abnormal fashion historically as well, right? And also thinking about, are we in what phase are we in right now, right? Are we in a euphoria phase or are we in the complacency stage right now? And I think we definitely still in the bull market. I don't think we're in a bear market at all. Or are we going to be foreseeing a bear market? I think we just need to correct back down to a more of an optimal level before we continue to surge. I think this goes up way too severely, and I think if you buy now, the risk is really really high. On top of the fact that we overbought, and at the same time we're curving down right now. So technically, the risk is higher than ever in comparisons to the Sire oscillation that at the time we thought it was a more of a upward wedge, right? We drew a triangle here. It seems like the wedge is completely broken. So this is completely out of the logic right now. So this is a whale manipulation that we're experiencing at the moment, aka the last hurrah in the complacency stage, just basically to bull trap the people that we have, that are mostly just the short-term investors chasing, right? So if you look at the cheat sheet again, you will see a last hurrah coming, and you should see a sell-off, right? But I hope we're not within the complacency stage. I hope that we're just in the thrill stage or euphoria stage. But the signs looks very comparable, right? You saw the peak that we had back in May when we hit that all-time high, and then we sold down to the 1750, right? And then we come back up. Now we kind of trade on sideways fashion, surged up, but obviously the loss hurrah is really significant. So that's something that obviously this is not apples to apple, right? They're not completely the same, but in terms of like comparable characteristics, I think there are some similarity in between, right? In respect to just me on my price sensitivity and my risk tolerance, I think 3,000, 2,750, 2,450, these are still the levels I will wait off until we get there. I would not be chasing it. I would not be buying it at the moment, because the technical is telling so. You always want to buy at a discount, not a premium. But if you want to buy now, that's still that's your logic. That's your risk aversion. $9,800 in the next 12 months, not a bad idea, right? And that's 3.3 times your money from here. So hopefully this is helpful in terms of understanding the macro dynamics. And sorry for my low energy today. I'm just extremely tired. I'm falling asleep as we speak right now. But really appreciate you, and stay tuned for next